Welcome, everybody, to Postgame Takeaways presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. I'm Tyler James. He's the one and only Eric Hansen, and we're coming to you from our respective homes to share our postgame takeaways from Notre Dame's 49-10 blowout victory over Navy. But first, let me share a word from our friends at Academy Sports and Outdoors. The most festive gear of the year is back at Academy Sports and Outdoors. Don't miss the limited edition Magellan Outdoor Christmas Market Collection only at Academy. Get exclusive 2025 gear and gifts for all your holiday parties, fun family photos, and Christmas morning traditions. Check out the entire collection from matching PJs and holiday print fishing shirts and dresses to exclusive new Mossy Oak Snowdrift camo styles and more. Shop in-store or at academy.com. Need it fast? Get same-day delivery powered by DoorDash. Let your holiday fun begin with the Magellan Outdoors Christmas Market Collection only at Academy. Eric, it looked and felt a lot like holiday season with snow falling tonight at Notre Dame Stadium. What was your biggest takeaway from the Irish win?
My biggest takeaway was Notre Dame's mindset going into this game. This could have been a game where they got nervous about the schematic shift going from a pass-heavy team to this triple option evolution that Navy's playing these days, and then back to a pass-happy team next week. I thought they really attacked it instead of just trying to survive it. And I just like the way that Notre Dame was just aggressive, and how Marcus Freeman talks about wanting to have struggle in practice, and that's how they get better. I think this is what style points look like, is when you get better as a team, when it's a difficult context to get better as a team, when it's a natural letdown. How about you? What was your biggest takeaway?
Yeah, I thought the game lost some luster when Blake Horvath was ruled out as Navy's starting quarterback. He allows Navy to have a passing threat. Braxton Woodson, we saw, could run, but he only completed 3 passes for 22 yards. Because of that, my biggest takeaway was on the offense, and it was frankly probably the most complete offensive performance in several weeks for Notre Dame, and should have been, right? Navy's defense, it wasn't good enough to limit this Notre Dame offense, but for Notre Dame to rush for 249 rushing yards, 94 from Jeremiah Love. CJ Carr throws for 218 passing yards with 3 touchdowns, just 16 pass attempts. A bunch of guys got in the action in the receiving game. Malachi Fields with 97 receiving yards. They didn't allow any sacks. And sort of, to me, it was a little bit of a test run of what the game plan will probably need to look like against Pittsburgh in terms of trying to stretch the field, challenging a secondary that wants to press you and make the offense be the aggressor, and while trying to take away the run game. So I thought Notre Dame did a pretty good job of that tonight on offense.
Okay. And they made all their extra points.
That was one of my other takeaways, that Eric Schmidt can kick extra points. We're still waiting for him to make his first field goal. I thought it was interesting that Noah Burnett didn't dress. So that's maybe another sign that he's not fully healthy, despite ND seemingly trying to convince us otherwise in recent weeks. Extra points haven't been guaranteed for Notre Dame as of late. So for Schmidt to go out there, especially on a night where the conditions weren't great, with starting with rain and turning into snow, that's a positive direction for Eric Schmidt to go, and maybe some confidence can be built from that.
Right. And I didn't feel like Notre Dame turned down field goals tonight. They were just scoring touchdowns.
Right.
So it wasn't like, they were afraid to do that. But, I mean, he looked confident. He got a pretty good cheer for the first one. And, so nobody was taking those for granted. There were a lot of things in this game I liked, and some of it was just kind of out-navying Navy. I mean, no penalties and no turnovers for Notre Dame. I thought that was huge. They outrushed Navy. They held them to more than 100 yards below what they normally get with their rushing attempts. Half their total offense total or average, less than half of their total offense average. They had 228 total yards. I thought the way they used Jaden Osbury was really interesting. They called it a rover, but, he was kind of explaining it was a little bit different than Notre Dame's traditional rover. and that it was kind of a safety hybrid, and he moved around the formation in different places. Really had a great game. I just thought there was a lot to like because, again, in a pouring rain that turned into enough snow to make, kind of crappy snow angels. I thought Notre Dame really took care of business. And that's all they can do at this point. I mean, Pittsburgh is kind of the one, game that's going to attract some national attention. The others aren't. I think Navy's better than the two teams that follow Pittsburgh. So I think this is a good sign for Notre Dame. And I think, they're going to move up in the AP poll, but more importantly in the college football playoff poll, probably one spot next week.
Yeah, I thought Jaden Osbury is a player that I can't seem to get a read on. I when I'm ready to write him off, he has a game like tonight. I think there's just you don't necessarily know when it's going to be a Jaden Osbury night, or it's going to be a Jalen Sneed night, or it's going to be a Kingston Viliamo and Asa night. They just have so many different guys at the linebacker level that can step up and have big games that maybe sometimes one of those or two of those guys don't make as big of impacts. And I feel like a lot of times it seems to be Osbury this season, but the way he played today was great. And hopefully that can help propel him forward against more traditional offenses. Even Devontae Smith, sort of a welcome back moment for him, getting 5 tackles. He had 4 all season, just his 3rd start of the year. That coverage is where he'll need to sort of prove himself moving forward. But to get out there and have him flying around and get some confidence back and feeling healthy, I think is probably a good sign for Notre Dame's defense as well. You mentioned the outcomes, or you mentioned Notre Dame might move up in the college football playoff. Were there specific outcomes that you thought were good from today's slate of games?
I think
for Notre Dame, that is.
Yeah. Well, they were going to benefit from the two top Big 12 teams playing each other, BYU and Texas Tech. I think the fact that it was lopsided for one of or the other, I think helps Notre Dame. It ensures that BYU is going to drop below Notre Dame and probably below Texas and Oklahoma too. I think that what really helped Notre Dame was the ACC now looks like a league where the champion may not even be in the top 12. And if they're not in the top 12, it's doubtful that they would have an at-large team as well. If ACC is only a one-bid league, that certainly gives Notre Dame a little bit more cushion in terms of what the committee sees and how they split hairs at the end and so forth. Virginia and Louisville both going down was problematic, and also in terms of the small minority of folks that like to say, well, Miami should be ranked ahead of Notre Dame because they won head-to-head and they have the same record. Well, guess what? Louisville beat Miami and they have the same record. Virginia beat Louisville and they have the same record. You're going to put Virginia ahead of Notre Dame at this point? That'd be crazy. So it kind of takes that head-to-head argument out of it a little bit. Or maybe they'll just dig in their heels deeper. I don't know. But I thought those were important. And the fact that Texas A&M won convincingly. I realized Missouri was on its backup quarterback, but that was an impressive win for Texas A&M on the road to beat Missouri. Texas A&M being in the top 3 is going to help Notre Dame. And, they have one, I think, really difficult game left, and that's the game with Texas. And, right now they're on a trajectory to play in the SEC championship game.
What did you think in terms of tonight's game most applies for the Pittsburgh game moving forward? I know sometimes like the Navy game sort of feels like a one-off because so much is different about how you approach a Navy game. But what do you feel like most applies to what Notre Dame will need to do next weekend?
Well, not in terms of the players that you'll see, but in terms of the strategy. I think Pittsburgh is going to be run heavy and take their chances in the passing game. And the thing is, they'll execute it with better players in their front 7. I mean, Pittsburgh's got some really good linebackers. They have better defensive backs, but if I think Notre Dame, I think one of the things that was kind of a hidden gem tonight was just how well CJ Carr got Notre Dame into good plays where they'd say, okay, there's a, they're stacking the box here. They weren't hesitant to throw downfield. It felt like in the Boston College game, they were a little bit more hesitant to do that. And yet they were able to mix enough run in to still be balanced. And some of that is just because Jeremiah Love is ridiculous. I mean, the 48-yard touchdown run, I've watched a lot of football and I've never seen anything like that where he's trapped in the backfield. He spins out of it into more defenders, lands on one of the defenders, but he doesn't touch the ground, spins out of that, gets up on his feet, and then outruns everybody to the end zone. That was amazing. Even Malachi Field said, CJ Carr and I are looking at each other saying, this guy's a freak.
Yeah, that Jeremiah Love play was pretty incredible. I had already looked up at the press box TVs that are above our heads to sort of see, okay, what happened there? Why was there multiple guys in that backfield? What went wrong? And then next thing I know, Jeremiah Love's running down the field still after not letting any of his body parts touch the ground until his feet landed, and then got back to a full sprint pretty quickly. So that was a pretty neat play. I threw out the suggestion of maybe Aeneas Williams can get some short yardage action in the future. I don't know if what he did tonight will earn him that, but it was nice to see him back out there making some nice carries in blowout time. But it was a little bit like, oh, that's the Aeneas Williams that we thought Notre Dame had coming into the season and just hasn't really had a role in Notre Dame's offense. So it'll be interesting to see if they find ways to get him the ball. Certainly a lot of weapons on this offense, and I don't know if there's enough touches to go around, but it's a good thing to have because he looks back to himself with whatever elbow issue and how much that maybe hindered him early on in the season, but looked to be pretty good tonight.
Yeah, it was ironic because the long touchdown run came on a 4th and 3 play, and he kind of broke through the pack for the first down, and then all of a sudden he was out in the open and outrunning everybody to the end zone. I also thought it was interesting, Jadarian Price, they made sure to give him the ball down in the red zone and inside the 5, and he scored a touchdown. So that was really good to see as well. Even though he didn't have big numbers, he had the carries and was secure with the ball when he needed to be, which I think, made the coaching staff feel good about the vote of confidence. You mentioned Aeneas Williams getting the game. Boy, I'll tell you, it was like if you didn't buy a program for this game and you were sitting out in the stands, you might have wanted one because there were a lot of guys playing for the first time. Kia, we heard his name on defense. Jerome Bettis Jr. caught a pass. Kim Williams almost had a touchdown. He got interfered with and drew an interference penalty. There were a lot of guys on defense. Sean Sevillano and Armel Mukum played some key downs for them. It wasn't just all kind of cleanup time at the end. And that was interesting. It'll be fun to kind of go through and look how everybody did in the Pro Football Focus scores on Sunday.
Yeah, and Sevillano and Mukum were among the guys that had done some scout team offensive line work when Notre Dame was down some offensive linemen. So for them to get some meaningful snaps in the game against Navy is a good thing for those guys, and credit to their hard work that they've been putting in, whether they've been playing on the defensive line or offensive line in practice. Bettis becomes the first freshman receiver in this class to catch a pass ahead of Elijah Burris and Scrap Richardson. I don't know that I would have necessarily predicted that. I thought Burris was probably the most likely, but obviously when you're playing late in games, you never know who's going to actually get a reception or not. And Ty Washington gets in the end zone, his first touchdown in a Notre Dame uniform, his first catch since the Purdue game. That was his 3 other catches this season, all came against Purdue. So it had been a while since Notre Dame used him in the passing game, and it looked like he had a number of routes run tonight, and that was an easy touchdown for the Irish. Anything else worth highlighting, Eric, before we get out of here, other than my terrible internet?
My only concern was James Rendell's punting. I think he got bored on his 28-yarder. But No, I mean, I didn't see reason for concern. Obviously, the competition level's going up next week. They'll face a better quarterback. They'll face a different offense, not necessarily a balanced offense. They'll face a team that's really hot right now, and that again has a really good pass rush. One of the best teams in the country against the run. They are not that good against the pass, but they've been improving. So it's going to be a test at Pittsburgh. But I love the mindset that this team brought to a game where it could have been kind of a let's slop around kind of game, and it wasn't. I mean, they got crisper as the game went on. They just put Navy away in the third quarter. It was a TKO.
Yeah, well, maybe some fans on the message board were a little bit antsy. They removed all concern pretty quickly after the first couple of drives on offense, and so I thought a pretty good performance for Notre Dame, something to build on. But yeah, setting up for a big game at Pittsburgh on Saturday. We'll be excited to see how that plays out. Until then, we'll head over to the Blue and Gold YouTube channel on Monday or Sunday for our staff roundtable. Monday night, we'll be back here. Football Never Sleeps. We appreciate everyone tuning in for post-game takeaways. Hopefully you are more well-rested when you're watching this than we are when we're recording this. But I hope you all have a good Sunday.